Welcome to The Table, a podcast where leaders pull up a chair and tell the real story, how they got there and how they stayed there. I'm your host, Jeanette Hernandez. So pull up a seat because this is The Table. Jarrod, thanks so much for joining me today on The Table. I'm happy to visit with you. I haven't seen you in a while, but I'm sure we've got a lot of stuff to catch up on.
It's been a bit. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Well, you have had an interesting journey because first of all, you have really made your own table. We talk a lot on the show about, how do people get there? Did they plan it? But maybe just share some people or share your background with some people that don't know you as well,
Mhm.
kind of where you came from to how you got to the table you're at today.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I've been doing structured settlements as a settlement consultant for almost 19 years now. My father started his own office when I was about 17 years old, and I decided to become somebody that came in and filed files for 3 hours after school. That moved into me beginning to, you know, go through medicals, submit them to underwriters, starting to quote, starting to call claims handlers, starting to analyze cases. And over the years, I just picked it up with my dad. And
Got the bug.
we started building the business together.
Hmm.
And as I did that, I met different individuals within the community that help disabled and injured people kind of rebuild their lives after settlement. And it really inspired me because in today's environment, it's hard to find careers where you're putting positive change in society every day and you can put your head on the pillow and know that you've done that.
Right.
So I fell in love with, there are parts of jobs that are hard, and then the other parts you love.
Right.
I fell in love with the part that I love about this job, which is getting to sit across from somebody and help them kind of plan out their life after a major event. So I went and then I received my certified structured settlement certificate from Notre Dame. And then a mentor of mine, Will Lindahl, suggested that I go and get my fiduciary certificate for the state of California and also nationally. So I spent some time going through courses, and I have now a California licensed fiduciary and a national certified guardian. And over the aggregate of those 19 years, I've worked with my father, and 2 years ago, I bought the office from him as he's not retired, but he just wants to kind of spend more time with his granddaughter. And that's kind of where I've gotten here. Jeanette, I will say you have been one of my mentors through this process as well.
Oh, thanks.
Because you helped me in starting certain organizations, which I'm sure we'll get to. But that's kind of how where I've been cut, the cloth was cut from, and how I've gotten where I am today.
Have you noticed in your journey, because I've had the pleasure of watching you through some of that journey,
Yeah.
And we worked together at one point. So there was a group, the Young Ringler Forum, which you immediately took to as a leader. You emerged as a leader there, and that's the first time I really got to see, what you were all about. And then you just continued that, yes, and then you were on the advisory board of Rise, very active with that. But you do things a little bit differently in that you have a great network, but you don't just show up to network. You show up to make impact, whether that's new relationships or getting involved. And so how has that evolved for you from becoming a young leader to where you are today?
So that's such a poignant and specific question, and I really appreciate it because when it comes down to the core of how I've developed as a leader, like a lot of millennials in my generation, I'm very morally centric. I want to do the right thing first, and then everything kind of comes after it.
Yeah.
And so, as I've kind of come up through the ranks here, I've had the opportunity to speak up when I thought things weren't going the way they should, or that they could have been done better, because either someone's ego or it's the bureaucracy that we're in. But having the ability to say what you think, and even if it's going to make some people mad, there's a certain respect that is commanded in that I'm not going to respond to something because I think you want this answer. I'm going to
Hmm.
respond to something because it's going to be the answer I think that's the right answer.
Yes.
And so that has been the major lesson I've learned as becoming a leader and going through Young Ringler Forum and going on the advisory board is having the courage to say, I think this is wrong and here's why.
And that's you showing up with your authentic self,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that heavy is the crown. I mean, there's lots of things that you can put about leadership, but I think it's really knowing who you are and that moral compass. I stayed in insurance all these years because I mean, we say it's a noble profession. We're
Yep.
helping people in the time of need,
Hmm.
and I'm right there with you because there aren't that many careers that allow you to do that on a daily basis.
Yep.
But combine having a great moral compass with knowing who you are and what you stand for, because then you know if you're sitting at the right table, what you have to offer at that table.
Yep.
Because sometimes that honesty, depending on the organization, can cause a lot of friction. It can
It can
create
get you into
problems,
troubles. Yeah, it can get you
can
in
get you
trouble.
into trouble, right?
Yes. Yep.
But knowing that you're doing it for the right purpose, sometimes you go to the mat for it,
Hmm.
right? And in your case, your name's on the door.
Hmm.
So that's protecting what you're building in a way
Yeah,
that's
that's
different than
that's
just a
why you have
job.
to pick the battles, though. You have to pick the
Correct.
right battles. So there are battles that you're going to face that you're going to look and go, I know the right thing to do here, and I know this is unjust, and I should fight this fight, but it's not going to be worth the political capital that I'm going to lose from it. So
Right.
there are certain things where you're just going to have to go, I just got to let it go and just move on. And then there are other things that go, no, I have the political capital here to get what I want done,
Yeah.
and I'm going to go ahead and do the right thing.
Right.
And then
You
you
can't
get to do
die on
it.
every hill. You just
Exactly.
can't, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I ask this question a lot, and I'm excited to ask you because I don't think enough people are talking about, I'll just say, both sides of the fence.
Mm.
So a lot of senior leaders who are probably on their 18th hole, they're like, oh my gosh, this multi-generational and millennials want this and Gen Zs want that. And it's always kind of pointing the finger over. I'm really interested because your dad is one of the people who's on the back nine, right? But you learned from that. There's a very precise recipe of leadership for a lot, and you followed it. And if you didn't follow it, you weren't going to make it. I think people are allowed to kind of, whether it's authenticity or whatever you want to call it, but you guys are actually changing what leadership is about.
Thank you.
What do you think is the biggest change that you're seeing, stepping into this role from what you learned? How are you adapting the leadership that you learned?
It's learning that you have to make decisions and also you have to take control of the strategy and the plan for the company. So there's going to be an inflection point where you realize that it's all on you. And you know, I love my peers, but a lot of millennials that I've seen in these situations have been order takers for many, many years, and they haven't had the ability to learn the analytical skills they need to be a leader. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what concerns me right now, is that my father did give me the opportunity to develop those leadership skills,
Right.
and then provided the adversity so that I could build strength. But right now, you know, what we're seeing is a mass exodus of individuals that are retiring, and then we have these individuals that are being promoted very quickly, but they haven't had the mentoring and the experience they need in order to do the job well. And so that's kind of what I'm concerned about in terms of the leadership. But in terms of me, it was apprenticeship. It was me looking at people like my father, Mike, and others, you know, in the industry that I looked up to that held themselves to an extremely high standard,
Mm-hmm.
and then choosing myself to hold that standard. And so it's a personal choice.
Mm-hmm.
And motivate, and the thing is, the motivation that comes from that personal choice has to come from within.
Right.
And so you just you have to find that in some way. And for me, the motivation to hold that standard and continue in that path was, I want to do something positive that I could be proud of. And this was something where I could look across the table at somebody that had been brain damaged, or, you know, they're quadriplegic, or, you know, their child had been significantly injured, and be able to give them their day in court.
Mm-hmm.
And then also give them the peace of mind that despite this awful thing has happened, I can help you rebuild so that you can sleep at night knowing that there's going to be funds to care for you. So it's having that moral that end game.
Mhm.
It's I know where I'm going, I know why I'm going it, and then also following the you have to go through a significant apprenticeship. It's got to be like 10 years at least. And you got to have good mentors, and the mentors may change through the 10-year thing if you stagnate. But and then you got to constantly be reaching out to these different people.
Mhm.
But if you have the fire in you because you've chosen the right thing, people like Jeanette Hernandez or my friend Will Lindahl or some and a bunch of other of my mentors will see it in you, and they will help you rise.
Yeah. That I always say to people they're like, what do you love most about your career? You've done so many different things. And I said, now at the place that I'm at, seeing people that I worked with being successful, like that makes me happy
It
because
just brings such joy, you know.
it does. It really like
Brings
all
such
it
joy.
was. It wasn't what I
Yeah,
gave to the board or the $19 million I saved. It's for
yeah.
me. It was always about the people,
Yep.
and that I was a servant leader, right? That's what I was there for.
I was at a conference last year, and there was a young man that was about my age, and he was a claims handler, and yeah, no, you know what? He wasn't my age. He was 10 years younger than me,
Mm.
and he was at the table, and it was me and a vice president of claims, and he was balding, and he was literally physically shaking,
Oh,
and I look at him, and I was like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, I just don't like my job, and I'm kind of getting bombarded by my bosses every day.
wow.
And he goes, I think I'm going to take a 6 month sabbatical. And do you think that I won't be able to get a job if I do that? And I look at him and I go, no, I think that the fact that you're going to do something that's positive for you and that's going to put you in a better place to be more effective at your career is going to be much, much more respectable to a potential employer than you staying in something because you're worried. And
Right.
so you could see the relief kind of set on him, but
Oh,
I think a lot of people in my generation need that kind of mentoring, and that's what people like ourselves need to try and do as we go forward.
yeah. That's the path that's I think for me, I'm watching change the most.
Mhm.
Where you never wanted to have a gap because then even if it was explainable, nobody would hire you if you had a gap in your.
Yep.
But I can say to people now, um, I probably stayed too long at some jobs because it was a different time.
Yeah.
But looking back at it, I also, as a leader, I found working for that, I'll just say a bad boss,
Hmm.
the type of leader I never wanted to be. And the
Yep.
characteristics that the rest of the team would point out. I mean, there's always a learning experience but it's hard not to internalize it when you're getting pummeled every day. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
fully respect
It's
what he was saying.
but the thing is, you get to learn those lessons. But in the moment, sometimes emotions get the better of you, and also people are going to try and press you in order to get you off kilter, and so that they can manipulate you. And so it's just learning that calm of leadership, and
Right,
also building that shield around you.
right.
So
Building the
that when
strength.
somebody throws something at you, you have to let it roll off.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, many times it's I think it's so easy to internalize. I mean, we're all human,
Hmm.
but over time, when you do find kind of the backbone and the gumption to speak your voice and use your voice at the table, you expect some pushback. I mean, that's
Hmm.
the whole point of bringing things up. There are uncomfortable conversations, but when you do it enough, you realize it's not about me. It's
Yep.
about the position maybe that person's thinking they're going to get fired. Maybe they don't know and you call them to the table on something they shouldn't. You don't, their dog died. I mean, there's a million reasons why people become defensive,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean you cave in
Hmm.
if it's
Don't.
something you
Yep.
fundamentally believe in, right?
Don't take it personally.
Don't take it personally.
That's the
Yeah,
thing is if you're in a professional setting and you want to get something done, you're gonna get friction. It's gonna
correct.
happen. Like it's there people are gonna question you. They're gonna question your motives. They're gonna question if you know what you're doing, if you're competent enough to do it. And so you have to be confident enough to stay in your position and hold your ground. But yeah, it's just don't take it personally because if you take it personally, the anger and angst and all this other things will start to roil inside you, and then
Right,
you'll start making unwise decisions.
right. And there is always the I don't know what buzzword do you want to use. The narcissist or there are people that you're going to work with that just like pushing people's buttons. That's what I'm teaching my daughter. She's like,
Yeah.
"Why are people like this?" And I said, "Cuz they get joy out of it. They want
I
if you
was.
don't give them
I'm
the
gonna say something
satisfaction."
controversial. I'll just say something
Yes,
controversial.
yes.
There is a reason that a lot of CEOs and people that make it to the top C-suite spots are diagnosed as sociopaths, it's because that they are willing to sacrifice and also do the things they need to do to get to those positions.
Mm-hmm.
Many people want just peace.
Right.
And so you're going to have to deal with individuals that go, no, I want the competitive aspect of what we do, and I'm going to do that because I love that. And then others are just going to go, I just want to love my family and just do my job and go home.
Right.
And
Yep.
so those people still have to interact and they still have to get the job done. And so there's going to be friction. But it's all about deciding what kind of leader you want to be and what level you want to eventually get to get the job that you're looking to get done.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you see more people now because, I mean, let's face it, the industry's just different. It's harder. What you have to know, how fast things are moving. Do you think more people are wanting, because I think, by the way, every generation behind mine,
Mhm.
um, really is focused on work-life balance. Whether that's I have made a conscious choice to be an individual contributor, even though I might want to be a leader. I'll try that in 10 years
Mhm.
because I want to be home with my young children. I mean, are you seeing people stand more for that now?
Especially after the pandemic, yes. So what happened with me is I had my young daughter in 2017. The pandemic hit at the end of 2019 in 2020, beginning of 2020. I would see her for maybe an hour or two a day when I was working in the office. And then when the pandemic hit, she was about 3 or 4 years old, and she was really starting to like bond with me. And I was able to then work from home because I was forced to,
Hmm.
and I was spending almost 24/7 with her on the ground over here.
Yeah.
And I saw the beauty in being around your family all the time.
Hmm.
And as I've started to come through that, I realized that working from home constantly wasn't the best for my business. So we've had to kind of hybrid it.
Right.
But the beauty of having the ability to spend the time you want when you want to with somebody like my daughter, who's 8 years old and just amazing. And all I want to do is kind of enjoy these next few years because I know when she gets into her teen years, I'm not going to be cool anymore. She's
Right. None of us are, by the way.
yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to enjoy this space, but it gave me the opportunity to really get to know her, and now our relationship's incredible. And
Hmm.
so I realized that if the pandemic had not hit, I would be kind of like an acquaintance to my daughter right
Yeah.
now. Like
Yeah.
I'd be a father, I'd be a good father, but I've had multiple colleagues come to me and go, I want to take this upward position, but to be honest with you, I'd rather spend the time at home with my kids.
Right.
And I look at them and I'll go, then you spend the time at
And
home with
do
your
it.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with that being said, the new generation I think is a little unrealistic sometimes about their life balance expectations. I hear a lot of people that are looking to hire saying, everybody that I'm interviewing wants to work from home 20 hours a week and make $200,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's unrealistic.
Correct.
And that I think that people both on the employer side and the employee side need to meet each other in the middle here.
Right.
Maybe do 4 days or 3 days in the office. And how I run my office, how we run our office now is Monday and Fridays people work from home. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, everyone's in the office together.
Great.
So it
Yeah.
gives you that long, extended period of rest, but also it gives you that period of extreme productivity and
Focus.
efficiency.
Yeah.
And then we also have that camaraderie, and you can hear each other on the phone. And when somebody hangs up the phone, you look over and be like, "Hey, you maybe should have said it this way instead of that way."
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
and that is so important because what I've seen in my generation is the pandemic basically forced all of us to work from home.
Right.
And so everyone's just in their own little silo, and they're not getting somebody looking over the cubicle going, "Hey, that was kind of a dumb thing to say. Maybe say it this way the next time."
Right.
And so we don't get that in-person kind of back and forth. I used to have to go to informal settlement conferences in person. And if I was late, you'd be frazzled. You'd have to get your printer set up. You'd have to get the computer set up. You have
Yep.
to start quoting. The lawyer's yelling at you. The other broker across the room is yelling at you.
Right.
And you still got to do it. And having to do that hundreds and hundreds of times builds resilience.
Yes.
And now what I see is consultants get on a call and they have to have everything in a line. And if there's
Hmm.
any kind of curveball, they have a hard time with it.
Right,
So
right.
that's kind of what I think needs to be considered among those that are coming up right now is you need to find opportunities to build that resilience.
I think you called it apprenticeship earlier, right?
Yep.
So however you get it, I do think in our particular business, especially on the claim side, you can have your CPCU, you can have a degree in insurance, but that it's kind of like a lawyer. You go to law school, they teach you law. They don't teach you how to be a trial
Nope.
attorney, right?
Well, they
It's
break you down and then build you back up
right.
into
It's
what you need
muscle
to be.
memory. You have to do
Yep.
something. You have to handle 100 claims in order to understand how. And I think that's the part that maybe we're trading convenience of being home for, am I really invested in this job as a career? Because you will hit a plateau of what you can learn at home
Mhm.
without having that camaraderie. I learned more through the camaraderie
Yep.
than anything else that I ever did in my entire
Same
career.
here.
So yeah,
Yep.
I agree. I
Same
agree.
here.
That's an
100%.
interesting balance, though. I mean, when you
But that
talk to
means
people,
every individual in and of themselves needs to recognize the fact that it's so easy to fall into the complacency trap of just wanting to stay at home.
it is, yeah,
And so you have to fight that and then keep yourself accountable
right,
because what used to happen is you were required to go in the office and then your boss would keep you accountable.
right.
And now what they're doing is they're doing just quarterly reviews of you, and you just got to move your mouse. And so people need to really kind of take it upon themselves about how do I not focus on the things that I have at home and the distractions that are here and stay focused on work if I have to work from home. And then when I'm done working, how do I turn it off and then I'm home? So
Right.
the hardest part of that for me has been I'm in work mode for 8 hours. I'm working really hard. I turn around and I walk out the door right behind me, and I'm in my house.
Right.
And there's dogs
There's no
barking, and
drive time
there's a
home, or
little
yeah.
girl asking me for stuff. My wife wants me to go to the store and take out the trash, and so I go from being in that work environment stress to not being able to switch it. And when I used to go in the office, it was there was a flip. You're
Right.
in the office, you're working. Now you're at home, you're in home mode,
Right.
and so I think people are dealing with having to navigate that of if I'm going to work from home, that means I have to be in work mode a certain amount of hours, but then I need to be able to turn it off so that I'm not screaming at my spouse or pissed off at something that I shouldn't be because I can't turn it off.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point from leadership because, like we're just talking, there's no book that's going to teach you how to adapt and lead in a hybrid environment. All leaders are trying to figure that out. Some have done better than others, but there's always going to be that personal gap if you're only talking to your boss from a learning perspective once a quarter.
Mm.
Right? That feedback has to become much more constructive, much more consistent. But how are you watching people adapt to that? So I know I sit at home. I know I'm getting like the highest KPIs. I get great reviews, but I haven't learned anything in the last year. So I'm not advancing.
I will say it's a rarity. The ones that do it well. Usually they're very self-disciplined people.
Hmm.
They hold themselves to extremely high standards. Others, I've seen they've had to kind of take other steps, which is no, I can't work from home because I'm seeing that I'm not as productive. So I'm going to go to the library,
Right.
or I'm going to go somewhere that's going to, or I'm going to rent an office where I can sit and just completely focus. Um, the other thing I've seen is just basically they would sequester themselves. It's looking at their spouse or significant other and saying, "You're not allowed to knock on this door or open it
Right.
for
Right. Right.
6 hours," and then they would do that. But I think everyone's still trying to figure this out.
Yeah, there's
And
no there's no way to there's
yeah,
no recipe for it on either the leadership side or the employee
and it's a
side.
case by case basis. It's about the individual.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think at least today then, maybe whether you agree or disagree, I'd love to know. But that's where the participation. So I remember when the advisory position, you're like, I can't go on a board. Like I've never done it. I'm like, yes, you can. Yes,
So,
you can just go sit at the table. You will
yeah,
be fine and you will learn along the way.
yeah,
So if you, I mean, do you think now that some experience like that would be a good route for somebody who said, you know what, I did make the choice to sit at home and be with my family for the next 5 years, but I also have to grow in my career, in my business development. Do you think that was that meaningful to you, not just in a
yes.
leadership, but from your
So
career?
this will kind of be, maybe seem a little hyperbolic, but take the uncomfortable position.
Yes,
And I am
that's the
a
stretch.
parachutist. I have over 570 parachute jumps, and we would walk up to the door, and one of the things we used to say is just jump.
Yeah.
And when you would advise me of the advisory of Young Ringler Forum, I said, maybe I don't have enough experience. Maybe I should just not do it. I'll probably make a fool of my. I'll probably make myself look a little bad. And then I realized, no, just jump.
Just jump.
And yeah, and then when you jump, like when we were at the door, there's all this fear and trepidation, and like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And the second you exit, all of it goes away because you're
You're in
basically
it.
your fight or flight goes. Well, you did it, so might as well have a little fun along the way.
Right.
And so I think that kind of is a correlation between you looking at me and going, I think you need to take a leadership position on the advisory board. I think you need to lead Young Ringler Forum. And me looking at myself going, I don't know if I'm ready. Just jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, none of us are ever ready
Yeah.
because you don't
Yeah.
know what you're really walking
Yeah.
into, but it's to what you said, it's believing in yourself and knowing what grounds you that I can get through this. And
Mhm.
and if it's anything of what I believe it's going to be, I'm going to be better on the back end
Yeah.
of it because it's
And
not
and
forever.
and be okay with failing and learning the lessons because you're gonna mess up. It's
It's
gonna
the greatest
happen.
teacher.
You're gonna get embarrassed. People are gonna make fun of you, and just take the lesson, internalize it, and move forward. Because
Right.
that's the only way you're gonna get to a point where you're gonna go, okay, wow, I've really built something up here.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the external types of leadership opportunities give you an opportunity to be messy. I'll just say be
Mhm.
messy, right? Because you can try all different kinds of things with a gamut of people that you don't work with every day.
Yep.
So you don't kind of have that political
Mhm.
thing hanging over you as well. But you might go into it and say, I love it. And now that's where I want to take my career. Or I tried it over here. I know I don't want to do that in my company. So it's a way to get muscle memory
Yep.
without having any conflict in your day job. Because,
Exactly. And that's one of
we're
the hardest things in life is figuring out what we want.
correct. And it
Yeah.
changes,
It does, and it
right?
changes as you change over time. And the thing is, people need to stop feeling bad about the fact that what they wanted maybe 10 years ago is not what they want now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because every decade of our lives just is so vastly different,
Exactly.
different.
Yeah.
Are there any specific, because you've really just had an amazing journey the past 5 years. Is there anything now where you're getting more focused on maybe business acumen, running a business by yourself now that your dad is kind of taking a back seat, or leadership, or I mean anything at all? But is there something kind of before you were in this overwhelming wave of learning almost everything all at once, and now that it's everything's kind of got its place, is there anything you're personally focusing on?
Put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others.
Excellent
You
advice.
have to fix and work on yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And so self help and making sure that you're the best version of yourself is scary. And I get that. But if you work on yourself, every facet of your life will get better and you will be better in business. If you ignore the things you need to do in order to better yourself and try to just put it off, things will degrade over time and they won't get better. So first, put your own oxygen mask on before you help others.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's great advice because if you read any leadership book, it's always if you can't lead yourself, that's where you start. You cannot lead others if you can't lead yourself.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that is a lifelong journey.
Mhm.
One of the books I recommend still to this day, it's a John Maxwell book called The 360-Degree Leader. And I
Yep.
think everybody should read it because, to your point earlier, I don't care if you want to stay in an individual contributor job, you are still a leader in your organization. Leader definitely is not title. I've worked in companies where I've gone in for 90 days and I find out who on the floor is the influencer.
Yep.
Who's the one when the meeting is over, everybody goes to and says, what should we do? And there's always people like that in every level and every type of career that you have. But I think people underestimate the leadership muscle when you're not leading a bunch of people,
Yeah.
right?
And it takes a while to build that muscle up. So then that's the thing. This sounds kind of pretentious, but I heard, somebody call it the other day executive presence.
Mhm. Yeah,
And to build executive presence and the confidence that comes with executive presence, you have to have basically you have to put in the time, so that you can have, but also, when you're doing when you're trying to build into a leadership position, you can't be in a position where you're running scared the whole time, because
right,
that won't build good qualities in you. It's going to build fight or flight type of tendencies.
right.
So, yeah, that's something that I just want everyone to consider, is that you want to make sure that you're in a position where you can grow properly, but you have good stress, but not too much bad stress.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know if
Bad
that
stress
makes
is
sense.
never, and
Yeah.
I think that for me, that's one of the biggest changes that I'm seeing throughout my career
Mm.
is that people are taking better care of themselves. I mean, I had jobs where I was working 6 days a week and I was working 10 hours a day. And I thought
Hustle
that
culture.
busy was being a
Yep.
good employee
Hustle
and all that.
culture.
Yeah, it just exhausted me. And then I'd gain weight and then I was tired and I wasn't eating well and I wasn't mentally sharp.
Yep.
And then things would start to, and no one is there to help you because it's an expectation. Like, don't even talk about that you're
Yep.
tired.
It reminds me of that Ted Lasso situation where they hired that therapist for the team because they saw that there was a lot of angst on the team
Right.
and nobody was helping themselves.
Right.
And so this therapist comes in and they're like, everyone's just going to go talk to her for an hour. And Ted goes in and he's like, I don't need therapy. I don't need to like talk to anybody. I don't need to vent. Like, I'll just hold it all inside
Hmm.
and I'll just be tough and I'll just keep working 60 hours a week.
Yes.
But you're not going to function at your full capacity if you don't deal with some of this
No.
stuff. You don't process.
Correct.
And so I've seen that, especially in our industry, among lawyers, among consultants, is they will push themselves because that is a value that has been taught to them
Correct.
since they were a small
Like a
child.
badge of honor saying,
Right.
look, I
Right.
survived all
Right.
of this.
You better look haggard or else you're not doing it right. That's
Exactly.
not right.
No,
No, you better take care of yourself so you can operate at 100% when people need you to make good decisions.
correct.
So, and that's what I think the new generation and the current generation and the old generation are all learning at the same time.
I agree.
Is that
I
we,
agree.
we, we have to take care of ourselves and we have to try and work to be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that is the struggle for, I don't want to say organizations, but I just think our industry right now,
Mm.
because we're not in the Google, Uber techie, right? Where they're used to that agile environment and having the balance. They have gyms in their lobbies, right?
Yeah.
We're not quite there yet, but I think it is, at least we can talk about it. Hey, I'm taking a mental health day, or I'm not going to go to the next 4 conferences. I'm going to
Yep.
be home all summer because I want to work out and get back on a path for myself.
Well, and then when the pandemic hit and I saw people going back to the office and they're like, well, it's really hard. And I think about them waking up at 7 a.m., getting their kids ready for school, getting out the door by 8:30, driving, getting to work by 9,
Hmm.
working until 5, driving home by 5:36 because of traffic and rush hour, getting their kids' homework done, eating dinner, and your day's over.
You're starting all over again. Yeah,
Yep.
you're just on a
And the
hamster
thing
wheel.
is I started to realize that's unsustainable. You have to give people more time to work on themselves, and
Right.
also they need time to exercise every day and they need time to process.
Yes.
So for me, it's more about you get the work done properly and efficiently,
Correct.
and you do it the right way. When the work is done, then you go and you run the errand. If you get an email while you're running that errand, it can, our policy is answer within 24 hours. I would like it within 12, please. 6
Yes.
is even better, but you have 24 hours, so you don't need to panic if that email comes in.
Right. Do
And
not
a
stop
lot of, yeah,
running and
yeah.
answer the email on your phone.
And a lot of people that I've worked with, especially in the boomer generation, are of the mentality that I need to be at my desk
All the time.
the entire time, or else I'm going to get in trouble, or I need to feel bad about myself.
Right.
And people just need to understand that, no, I think there's a better way we can work this.
Right.
Yeah.
There's nothing that urgent. I had direct reports when I would leave and something would be going on and they're like, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? I'm like, just make a decision. Unless you burn down a building or you kill someone, I've got your back.
Yep.
Just make a decision. And like,
Yep.
if you fail, you fail. It's fine. But it's scary when you're taught not to do that. It's
Yeah.
very hard to learn the new
Well, and
muscle
especially
memory.
when you're in high stress jobs, like high
Yes.
stress, where it's just they're coming down on you constantly,
Right.
it can put you in that anxious fight or flight state, and then you're not making good decisions. You're not using your rational part of your mind, and so it's just learning to when that stressor hits you, to let it roll off, let the feeling hit you, let the wave crash, and then respond.
Right.
And that's something that takes a while to learn.
Yeah, the count to 5 before you send the email is a
Yep.
very great piece of advice everyone should remember. Yeah. I think we put more um, stress on ourselves because like you said that we're if I don't respond to that person, they'll think I'm not engaged or they're waiting for me. No, they probably are going through their email inbox just
Mhm.
like you, cranking things out and they don't
Give me
expect
eight
actually
hours.
they don't
Yeah,
want you to answer because then they got to stay in their email inbox.
exactly. And that's the thing I've learned is it's fascinating the things we'll do to help other people's, but we won't do to help ourselves.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. And that needs to be the foundation of everything because you can't pour
Yep.
from an empty cup.
Yep.
That's another
Exactly.
and the sad part is I've never seen turnover the way I've seen it in the past 3 to 5 years
It's
where
pretty a trend.
it's
Yeah, it's
it's
pretty.
frightening,
Yeah.
especially from a decision maker position, because it takes you 3 years to get in, especially like a chief claims officer, right? To learn the organization, to learn the people, to learn the process. And if you're being swapped out for someone new who's cheaper, the organizations I don't think have felt the impact yet because it's kind of been a new trend.
Yeah.
But if we do this, not only are we going to have more people that are, we're trying to bring up into leadership,
Yep.
say, I don't want it. Why would I go through all the stress if I'm only going to be there 3 or 4 years? So
And
that's
that's why,
another
yeah,
balance.
I think that's why Rise is so critical, is because
Yes.
when my dad talks about when he got in the industry and became a claims handler, he got hired, and they sent him to wherever it was for a month.
Month. Yep.
And they basically trained him on everything he needed to do his job well. And then they
Correct.
sent him back, and then he did his job for years.
Hmm.
Nowadays, people just are getting hired, sitting at a desk, and then they're being told to process tasks. And so I think the industry needs to reinvent the wheel in terms of how it's going to educate the new generation, and then how we're also going to give them the resources to be very successful in what they do.
Right.
And so I think we're all still figuring that out, literally month to month right now.
Yeah. And I think in that, and I will call it adversity because it's hard to figure out, especially if you're younger, it's hard to figure out the field if the color changes every couple of months, right? But I think if you're someone who, like you said earlier, is grounded in themselves, they know who they are, they kind of know their path. This time period of influx is really an opportunity.
It
You
really
could you
is.
could rise you could
Yeah.
rise above and really stand out as a leader in the industry if you can just give direction
Yep.
and
Yeah.
stay true to that direction.
And that's the thing is if you build those leadership skills right now, you're going to be at the top level C-suite of wherever you want to go.
Agreed.
But you have to have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
And also you have to have the courage to sometimes ruffle some feathers.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people, especially in the millennial generation that I'm a part of, we like to be part of a team and we like to work together to get a goal done. And part of that sometimes is saying things that other people won't agree with.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's just it's everything in life is a game. You just got to learn to play it.
Yep. And
Yep.
I think your example and one of the reasons I was really excited to have you on is I don't think people appreciate how big the ecosystem is in insurance. Like if you get into claims, you tend to stay in claims. Don't be afraid to jump and,
Mhm.
understand what it is to be a structured settlement consultant
Yep.
or what it is to be a, selling
Mentality of abundance.
software. Yeah,
Mentality of abundance. The thing is I think a lot of people they go, I'm gonna protect the little thing that I found because it's
right.
like a pot of gold,
Yeah,
and I'm just gonna try and ration it until it's gone. And really, people need to have the mentality of, no, there's a ton of opportunity out there,
fun. Right.
especially for my generation. The boomers were the biggest generation, And we have a big opportunity to take up a lot of these positions and to move into these leadership positions.
Right.
And we just have to,
Hair.
we just have to care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that in the next 5 years,
Hmm.
there's going to be even more opportunity. And to what you said, just jump. Even if you're a director and a VP position pops up, stretch yourself.
Yep. Yeah. If you don't think you're qualified, you'll learn it on the job. Do
Right.
it. Challenge
And
yourself.
get a great mentor
Yep.
or several.
Yeah. Yeah. And let yourself fail and learn. Let
Agreed.
yourself do it. And I
Agreed.
think everybody feels like they need to just stack success after success in order to get where they need to go. But really, where you want to go and how you figure that out is with failures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you stay in the same lane all the time, you may not know that the lane next to you is the lane you really want to be in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Jarrod, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure I'm going to have you back on as you
I
continue to
cannot
go
wait.
down your path. I know some great things are coming in your future.
I appreciate it. And Jeanette, thank you so much for having me, and this was a pleasure. Thank you.
Great. Take care. Thanks for listening to The Table. If you like this episode, please follow us and subscribe so that others can find us. Until next time, go out and find a seat at your table.